Walk around all day, you ain't gonna change. Well, he changed me. He changed me. So the song's called Missionary, and I wrote it back in 2011. It's just a song that addresses someone trying to come to terms with their faith and that conversation that we often find ourselves having where someone is just making up a bunch of excuses, but it's not necessarily they don't know the word of the Bible or they don't know about this one we call Jesus. It's not about that, right? And sometimes, at least while growing up, I used to see some folks making some assumptions that, oh, this novel concept. I mean, this is the 21st century, information travels fast. And of course, there is the literal missionary in that sense. But a lot of times we're having conversations with folks. And many times the biggest example that you can do is to just be the light yourself and allow God to do his work. My name is Geryah Dingle, and you're listening to Corroborated. Can't even proudly tell you my story. One for his love and his precious glory, that he could look down on this earthly body and love me still. So basically what that's talking about is how sometimes we all have our own personal journey and the life before the light, right? And sometimes that story is not always something that we want to share. And we're not often proud of those things, right? Those are things of the past and things we've turned away from, but we're not necessarily wanting to brag about that part of our lives. But there is one who can wash all that really away. And so it's not really that significant anymore. And so that's just kind of talking about that point. Whereas sometimes it's even hard to get your foot in the door because some folks are too worried about that judgment that others often pass. Walk around all day, you ain't gonna change. Well, he changed me. He changed me. And that's kind of talking just like how you sort of talk kind of casually or slang like, oh, you better walk around. Like, you're not going to cut through someone's conversation. You better take the long way around. Just kind of like someone's trying to reach you or have this conversation. So you have this guy who's basically trying to tell them, hey, I used to be a certain way once upon a time, but God changed me, so there's no reason that he can't change you as well, regardless of your past, regardless of those things you're ashamed of. The other guy is just kind of like, hey, walk around, man. Just in the literal sense as well, and of a missionary, like walking around, traveling, and sharing the good news. I know there's one God, I know that he's able. I read the same book that sits on your table. I know the story, how it ends, and I know he died and he rose again, and I. So basically what that's kind of talking about is, I understand what you're saying. I understand words that are in this book, right? It doesn't mean the same thing to me right now that it means to you, but I know what you're about to say, kind of like that vibe. Like, hey, I know what you're about to say. I've heard this all before, but you know what? I'm good. It's the church of Christ, and I'm gonna be wearing all his white and Mary. And I thank you, Lord, for all of your light, and thank you, Lord, for watching my life and my kids and my family. So basically what that's kind of talking about is not in the literal sense of wearing a white dress, what we might depict, but yes, it could mean that, but a lot of times we're talking about how Christ marries the church or comes together and we are his bridegroom. And then it just kind of goes on to say, like, kind of while I'm going out here and wilding out and everything, you still watch my life. You still watch my family. You still basically had that hedge of protection around me. I know you never saw my life before. I know you never saw. I know you never saw my life before. I know you never saw. So actually this part of the song, I was not in the original composition, but we sort of needed somewhat of a bridge, and it kind of goes back to that point of, hey, I've turned away from the things in the past, and I'm having this conversation, I'm trying to reach out to this person and be that light, be that example, but it's kind of hard to relate right now because I'm just preaching this word, I'm talking about this book, this Bible, this good news, but this person has never seen me as I was when I was more so like he is today. So then the song kind of goes on, and then there's somewhat of a bridge. It's kind of in the background and you don't really hear it, but it kind of likens it to what really happens in reality, right? Like God's always working in the midst, somewhere in the background, maybe in the foreground as well, and you may be more noticeable. But a lot of times it's that thing pulling at those, it's like, He's working on, 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 He's working on our hearts. So basically it's just talking about like in the background, and we're repeating that chorus, but the whole time God is still working in the midst. The song goes on, it's in the background once again, and it's He rose again, 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 He rose again. It's saying He rose again, He rose again. So it's kind of a play on words there, but again, in the background, God is working, He's working on our hearts. He rose again, He rose again. Once again, He will be victorious. And that's kind of like in the end, you hear the final chorus, and it's actually the know-it-all saying that. I know there's one God, I know that He's able. I read the same book that sits on your table. I know the story, how it ends, and I know He died and He rose again. Then walk around all day, you ain't gonna change. Well, He changed me, changed me. Having that witness, having that good news, accepting it for Himself. Now it's Him saying, hey, I know there is one God. I know that He's able. I read the same book that sits on your table. I know the story. I know how it ends, and I know He died and He rose again. So it's a very interesting story, and I don't even really know how this song came to me, but it did. I was just sitting and fiddling with my acoustic guitar, and I was playing on a G and a C chord, and next thing you know, I just hear this, walk around all day, you ain't gonna change. Well, He changed me. And it's kind of like that, I'm interrupting you while you're talking, like, hey, walk around, hey, wait a second, He changed me. Realize this. And I know you never saw my life before, but He changed me. And it's the church of Christ. And one day I'm going to be wearing all His white. And that's just kind of talking about, hey, one day we're going to be victorious in the ever after. My name is Geryah Dingle, and you've listened to Corroborated.
He rose again. He changed me.